Bonjour mesdames et messieurs. In this video, I'm inviting a friend who has his own YouTube channel called Tom Antos. Tom is a movie director and I've been following his channel for quite some time. He's got amazing tutorials on shooting movies. I know as a photographer today now that DSLRs makes good video. A lot of you are interested into shooting the right video and having the right gear. Well, this channel is the one you should follow, Tom Antos. To present Tom, he's gonna show you a little trick, which is a comparison between a DSLR and a Red Epic on shooting a thing and showing the importance of having the right light and the right composition. And that is what it makes the photo, not the camera. There was a guy the other day who left a comment on my Google+, which I thought was a funny joke. He talks about a fancy man in New York who invites a photographer after a photo exhibit for a dinner in his house. And at the end of the dinner, he says, "I really love your photography. You must have an amazing camera." And the photographer says, "Well, thank you. I really enjoyed the dinner. You must have an amazing oven." Well, that's exactly the point of this video that Tom is going to show you. Enjoy his tutorial and subscribe to his channel. Over to you, Tom.
Hi guys, my name is Tom Antos. First, I wanted to thank Serge for inviting me on his channel. Now, a little bit about myself. I'm a film director, a cinematographer, and visual effects artist. And on YouTube, I put up a lot of filmmaking tutorials that are, based on the films that I do. So first, let me show you guys a little sample of some of my work. So since all of you guys are into photography, I'm guessing most of you have DSLR cameras which have video capabilities. So I thought today I would show you a tutorial that's all about shot design, basically teaching you how to get very cinematic looking videos just by using your DSLR. So for this example, I'm going to use both the Red Epic camera, which is a very popular film production camera these days, used on many feature films. And then I'm also going to use the Canon 7D, sort of a typical DSLR, but you can use any DSLR. And I'm just going to show you guys basically that having a more expensive camera doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a better looking video. Many times I tell people that really you can achieve both good and bad results using an expensive and a cheap camera. Here's one example of that.
Okay, so here's the scene that we're going to be working on. And it's basically I'm trying to get a shot of a girl playing pool. Now, like a lot of times, when you find yourself shooting a music video or film, you're gonna have really limited resources at your disposal. So you're basically always gonna try to do the best that you can with what you have available to you. So as you can see up here, our location is very limited. It's not too big. There's a lot of just junk and things lying around on the side. And it's just not too interesting looking. So the first thing that I find that people really make the mistake of is just sort of they point the camera at their subject and they just tell them in this case just take a shot. And that's it. They just film that. They don't worry too much about what's behind the actor, what kind of a setting that creates, and like this kind of an angle. As you can see, it doesn't look like anything. It could be somebody's house or basement or God knows what. So really, what you want to start doing is designing your shot. So you want to sort of start off. I think it's best to start off with your angle first before you start even worrying about the lights. So as you see me here, I'm kind of walking around the pool table, trying to see how it's gonna look from from different sides. And here we can see a stereo behind the girl, not too interesting. And in this corner of the table we have those extra balls. We have that pool cues, the little scoring board. So I think that just kind of, and it's just cleaner overall. So I just decided that this is going to be my angle for the shot. Okay, so once I settle on more or less the angle of the pool table that we're going to be filming on, then I also told my actress to just change her outfit into something a bit more interesting, more colors, that kind of thing, a little bit less plain. And I also lower the camera to show a bit more of the foreground of the table there and the other balls. And and the last thing I do is I just sort of decide what lens I'm going to use. So in this case, I end up going with a 50mm lens at f2.8. But again, that might still change depending on how I set up the lights and stuff. But that's more or less the aperture I would want to keep to kind of keep that depth of field that we see here. And this is how it looks here right now. I just kind of rehearse it with my actor, have her walk over to one end of the table at the end. And once I'm happy with this, then I start basically adjusting the light. So first thing I notice is that I really don't like how those actual lights there that are above the pool table look. They kind of cast this really harsh shadow on my actor's face. So I adjust those lights a little bit, just so that they don't point directly at her face. So here you can see the difference. It looks a little bit better. And then the next thing I do is just set up the lights. Now I was of course very limited because again the size of the room itself, so I had to put the lights really close to the actor, which is not ideal, but I somehow managed to make it work here. So my first light is this. It's a 1000 watt tungsten light, and I just put a little diffusion paper over it just to soften the shadows a little bit, and I point it right straight onto my actor's face, so it kind of creates a little shadow there under her chin and their nose. And then the other light is the same type of light but with a blue gel over it, and I put it to the right side there, just off screen, off of camera, and slightly behind the actor, and it's just shining her there mainly on her hair and then her back a little bit. And I put the blue gel on it just to sort of add a bit more different color to the scene. And this is how it looks. And then afterwards I do quick little color correction. So nothing drastic. I just kind of darken the shadows, and then I add a bit of a blue tint to the shadows. Again, if you want to see how I do color correction, you can watch some of my other tutorials. And this is our finished shot. This is how it looks. Now, one thing I forgot to tell you guys is that this is actually an example that I shot using the Canon 7D. And here is the exact same shot, but shot using the Red Epic. This is how it looks. And as you can see, I mean, there's not much of a difference between the two cameras, other than the fact that the 50mm lens on the Red Epic is a little bit wider, as you can see, compared to the 7D. Also, you have a bit more latitude in the Red Epic. So for example, when you look at the hair there, the highlights in the hair, you can still see, even though it's so bright, you can still see the details there on her hair, whereas here on the 7D it's just going to be a bit more blown out. Not a huge difference, but there is a difference. So that's the kind of the kind of things I guess you should watch out for when you're shooting with digital SLRs. It's just you don't have as much latitude as, for example, shooting on the Red Epic. But really, if you look at, for example, at the beginning what I got with the Red Epic, also when I was just testing out the angles, it looks just as bad, if not worse, than than when you look at the shots that I got with the 7D. So here's, for example, our angle once we decided on the angle, but without the lights, and this is on the Red Epic, and here's how it looks when on the 7D. Again, it's if you just like I was saying before, if you don't design your shot, if you don't pick a nice interesting angle, if you don't set up the lights, for example, if you're able to set up lights in an interesting way, then all those things is sort of what's gonna degrade your image quality. And it's not so much the camera that you're using, because as you can see, both of these cameras can create a professional and sort of interesting looking image. For sure a lot more interesting than what we started out with, which was this, just pointing the camera at our at the girl here playing pool. And so just taking the time to like I said, settle on your angle, the lens that you're gonna use, the lighting, even the costume that the actor's wearing, all those things, they all add up, and one thing sort of builds on the other, and it creates the overall effect, and it just makes your production look that much more professional. So really, not having an access to a certain camera shouldn't be an excuse that you use to not being able to get a decent looking shot.
So these are the two cameras that I used for the test, 7D and Red Epic. Both, I think, great cameras, and both serve a different purpose. So this camera, but many people, you'll ask them and they think, oh, Red Epic, that's the best camera, the only camera I really want to work with. And it's amazing quality, really high resolution, can do nice slow motion, but it's not everything's great about this camera. Like, first thing is you can see just the size of it. This is so light, you can put it in a lot of cool angles that there's no way you're going to put this camera into. Even if you're going to take the rails off, and put on smaller lenses, it's still much larger camera. Also, if you look at up here, we have a whole set of the red primes and then the red zoom lenses. You'll see that the lenses, and these are really the lenses that you want to be using with this camera, because if you're going to buy a red camera, why would you use digital SLR lenses? So if you want to get the best out of it, you want to use the primes. And the problem with these is, aside from the cost, is just how big they are and how heavy they are. So you really do need kind of a crew working with you, because there's no way that you can. Well, you could shoot one person, but there's no way you can shoot as fast with this. So whereas if you have somebody like an assistant, and somebody swapping out lenses for you, things like that, then you can work a lot faster with this, and you can actually manage to shoot stuff. Another big problem with this is just the size of the batteries. They're heavy, so again it adds to the size and the weight of the camera. But also this is a big problem actually if you're traveling and, for example, you want to take this as a carry-on, because this goes actually over the allowed carry-on limit for carrying batteries. So you would have to check this in. To get also all the footage recorded, simply because the camera records at such high bit rates, you pretty much need to get these solid state drives. And they're, again, just expensive and not easy to replace. Whereas then we compare to the digital SLR, here it is, and then you see lenses, you can get much smaller, much lighter, not as good maybe with focusing, but you're still getting decent image quality, and batteries are very small. It's something that you can easily take with you. So trust me, when you actually get your hands on this camera, there's no way you're gonna abandon like a traditional digital SLR. Or the way I shoot is I even use my GoPro camera, simply because it's so easy, for example, to put on these cheap little steady cams, and you can balance it really quickly. And also this camera is so tiny, you can put it into any angle, kind of the angles that you wouldn't even be able to put these two cameras into. It's very durable, for example, so that's another advantage that this camera has, for example, over these cameras, is you can throw it in the water, you can throw it from really big height and hit the ground, and it's still gonna survive. So in conclusion, really, all these cameras have advantages and disadvantages, really. So this camera, like I said, really great image quality, but it's expensive, big, bulky, heavy. This camera, very good image quality, obviously not as good as this one, but for most applications, whether you're doing web video, TV stuff, or even if you're going to do a feature film on it, it will look great. And then this camera, has its own advantages. And as a filmmaker, you don't really you shouldn't use this as an excuse just because you don't have access to this camera to not getting good quality. Because I would say this mid-range camera, like pretty much any SLR camera, digital SLRs, whether it's the 7D, forget even 5Ds, 7D, 60D, T2i, they're all great cameras, and they can sort of, they're a perfect sort of a middle ground. They can handle everything. They're small enough, we can hide them. They're, great and good enough image quality, and you can still do some slow motion, not as maybe slow as the Red Epic, but still, good enough. And it just delivers, really, really nice image quality. So I would say, if you have access to any digital SLR camera, just go for it, and just worry about making a good film.
Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and you learned something. If you are interested in seeing more tutorials like these, then check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/polkan99. Thank you, and thank you to Serge once again, and I'll see you guys hopefully in the future.